He always surprises me. And it's a pleasure to work with. I've had a lot of fun this morning. We sit up here and gossip about you guys. Did you know that? So, I'm just kind of trying to diverge off the subject just a little bit. I didn't get to say anything to your joys and concerns, but some of you know that we're having the Aquilas Christmas tour at our house this afternoon. I'm really glad to be here. But I've been invited to come back and be a greeter at the house, so okay, I can do that. So Advent is a time when we are preparing for the coming of our Christ. And how do we do that? We'll talk about that. The Eastern Orthodox Church thinks and plans their Christian year around Advent. Advent's the most important season to them. And that's because with the coming of Christ, grace came into our world. And I celebrate that. And this, for me, is a time of celebration. Advent, the Christmas season, even the Christmas tour, it's a celebration. And I think Arnold is exactly right when he said that Deb is above my pay grade. She is an amazing person. She's like an artist. And those of you who are artists know what I'm talking about. A painting is never finished. Well, she says we're ready, but I know she's not done until Christmas Eve. So she'll be tinkering and moving, and touching. You know, that's not unlike what we all do on our faith journey. Don't we learn something once in a while and we just kind of touch it up? So in Luke, when I was preparing this, I thought, well, this just doesn't sound like Advent scripture, does it? We're talking about an apocalyptic time of chaos, but the message is there that Christ will come for redemption. Now, the word that we translate as redemption would probably be better translated as rescue. Christ will rescue us from the apocalyptic time. So it is important then to wait, to watch, and to hope. And that's the theme of the first Sunday of Advent. So it starts to tie together. Have you ever reread a familiar scripture and get a new perspective? I know that you have. And I did on this when I was reading this. Oh, he's talking about chaos. And then he's going to come, and it's going to be like the calming of the sea, and then take us home. I thought, wow, now that's the story right there. But in any event, it's been interesting for me to deal with this subject with the beginning of Advent. My first thought was it would seem appropriate to use almost any other scripture than an apocalyptic discourse. But then, when you think about it a little bit, well, it's not so bad. So there will be signs that Christ is coming, and we celebrate Christ's coming during Advent season, and at this point, we're waiting and watching. I also had the idea that This is not unlike how we, as we grow and mature, go from our selfishness to our maturity, sharing with others, caring for others, being Christian. So we kind of go through anxiety about our decision. What are we going to do? How do we do this? What do I need to do first? And then as time passes, we get there. And looking back over my life, I kind of wonder if that didn't take me a really long time to catch on. Engineering really is not a very Christian activity.
Huh.
It's about things. It's not about people. So this comes into our psyche at some point, and we're very fortunate when we just kind of wake up and there it is. So I've mentioned Paul Calmes before. He is one of my cousins, and he is the nephew of Inez Calmes, if you remember her. And he's been a minister all of his life. He and I are like brothers. I refer to him as my brother. And so I said, we were talking one day about how our lives have changed over the years, and we both moved around a lot and been in different churches and things. I said, you know, Paul, Deb told me one time that she felt like that God sent me to be in her life at a crucial time. I said, Paul, I don't feel like God's messenger. I'm sorry. Paul said, well, you just have to remember, God didn't ask you. So we have that dynamic in our life as we are interrelated and we share just being here with you. You are my messengers. I learn from you. I share with you. So, I had another experience once after some of these others, and I went to visit a friend of mine whose son was in the hospital, very ill, and she asked me, just where is God in my son's illness? And I looked right at her and said, God is in you. That's why you're here. That's why you have him here in this facility with the very best care that he can have. God is working through you. So what are we looking for in all of this? What are we trying to find? Well, speaking for myself, I spent a number of years trying to quantify God. You know, it's an engineering thing. You want to know numbers, you want to know shapes, you want to know size, you want to know how it feels, you want to know how it smells, how it tastes, anything. You want any of that. Well, that's kind of normal. Those are our senses. But that's not God. God is spirit. And I can see God in each of you as his messenger. As we all know, we see beautiful things in life. God's creation, the mountains, the candles, the lights, the Christmas trees, artists' depiction of God's creation. But all of these things, hopefully they remind us. And I was reminded in Arnold's prayer of those who've gone before. So we remember those things. But it all comes right back to watching, seeing, waiting for the season perhaps, and hoping. Hoping is prayer. When we start hoping for something, that's what we're praying for. So this is interesting. Now we've got watching, waiting, hoping. All of those are the signs and the symbols of Advent, and prayer is part of that package too. You know, God exists all around us. And Thursday, Kelly and I walked with Arnold as he was going to the cath lab in Oklahoma City. I think at that point, Arnold was ready. You get to that point when you know something's got to be done. Okay, let's get it over with. And in he went, and we went to the waiting area. Pamela Holt showed up. Sue and George Lindley showed up. We had a good visit, all of us. And right in the middle of our waiting time, Kelly got a phone call from the surgeon and said, we found a couple of things and we're going to put in a couple of stents. And it seemed like just a few minutes later, we're done. You know, that to me is astounding. So then we went in to see Arnold after it was all done, and he was just kind of waiting to come home. And the first thing he wanted to know is, can I play golf? And I thought to myself, I didn't say it, well, you couldn't play golf before. So Kelly tried to say something, but the doctor said, I've got this. I know how to answer this question. Said tomorrow you can chip and putt, and next week you can play your full game. We all had a good chuckle. So it's just amazing. And here he is today. God is great. I see God in that. And in all of your prayers for Arnold. So Advent is the time when we see God's grace in action. And that's what we're looking for, is God in our lives. God, through Christ, is our hope, our prayer, and our faith. Make no mistake, God is present right now, this very minute, right in this room. Enjoy it and share it with God.